So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. iPhone 13 Pro versus iPhone 13 Pro Max a few months later. Now let's begin with the price difference. First of all, it's going to run you $100 less to get essentially the same phone, just smaller, in the iPhone 13 Pro. So right off the bat, if you want to save money, you're going to want to go with the iPhone 13 Pro. But many months later, in the weight and ergonomics, I definitely found that I keep preferring the 13 Pro. The Max is just a big device, 240 grams, 6.7-inch display. And sometimes it feels like for what a smartphone, especially what an iPhone can do, I kind of don't always need that screen space, specifically because Apple doesn't really allow me to split the screen on this phone, and it doesn't really give me, anything that's like more beneficial than just using the iPhone 13 Pro. For example, if I am in Geekbench, whatever, running a quick benchmark, I'm not able to go ahead and check the specs in another tab while I'm running this benchmark. I can only look at one app at a time. So it kind of defeats the purpose, not really taking big advantage. If I try to turn the 13 Pro Max, I don't get to go landscape mode on the home screen. So weight and ergonomics, I've definitely preferred the iPhone 13 Pro, but I do believe both of these are not the most comfortable iPhones ever due to their squared edges. But they are beautiful, and I do think the iPhone 13 Pro Max is a little bit better looking just because the camera is so big on the 13 Pro and the body's not that large. So it kind of really sticks out like a sore thumb right there, where it looks a little bit more like it was meant to be on this massive phone here for the 13 Pro Max. The notches, though, are a little bit smaller. Some people don't prefer them. I actually like them more than the iPhone 12 Pro Max series, which was a little bit longer this way. I prefer these. Are a little bit smaller looking for my take. Some people think they're a little deeper, but overall, I prefer the way the iPhone 13 Pro Max looks here as well, because with a notch, the more screen space, the less it is noticeable. So I would give the win to the 13 Pro Max in that area. Now, what are the differences in the actual display quality? And basically none. They both do get to 1,000 nits of brightness, which really, it seems like nothing when I'm talking about this, like, okay, he's just talking about a spec, whatever. But this brightness here, it's so noticeable when you take a look at a competing Android phone that can't even hit 600 nits of usable brightness. It just makes these phones stand out. They get so bright, it's ridiculous. And the ridiculous part about it is that the brightness that you can actually use this brightness. It's not like something you gotta wait to get in the sunlight and then you're like, whoa, that got pretty bright. You gotta wait for that. No, you can tweak it yourself. And when you do get in sunlight, it also gets even brighter. So definitely quite nice. I've enjoyed that. In terms of the smooth factor, the 120 hertz has just been butter on both of them. It just really has been a great experience, and it really reminds me a lot of the Apple iPad Pros. So here's an iPad Pro 11-inch, for example. It doesn't even fit in the frame because it's an iPad, but you can see right here, super smooth. And finally, to see that super smooth 120 hertz here for the iPhone is amazing. So I've been loving this. It really does make a major difference over some of the 60 hertz iPhones if you care about feeling like you have an upgrade on your iPhone. Now, when it comes to Apple's iOS 15, I gotta say that, again, it's the same experience. Yes, we have a smaller display. I do tend to prefer iOS on a larger screen here when it comes to the widgets, but when it comes to just the overall, grid of icon, just using the phone, I kind of like it on a one-handed device. So again, if you're using a lot of widgets, I do support the idea of using a larger phone. It just gives you more space to put those widgets on. But if you're just kind of into the older school iPhone experience where you just kind of use applications, you're not big on widgets, I do think the one-handed experience is a little bit better. If you're using it more like a business tool, you want a bunch of apps everywhere, you want widgets everywhere, you're doing stocks, you're doing school, you're doing, notes for class, whatever, you want to put it on a widget base, you'll probably want the bigger phone. It's a little bit better in that experience. Other than that, they both have the same cinematic camera video modes right here on both of them, as well as some of the same video modes. And you don't really have anything that's like that much different in terms of the camera as well with the iPhone 13 Pro, which is a good experience because it's not like you have to go to the Max to get the same modes. You still get the macro mode, you still get the cinematic mode here with the camera, and the results we already know are freaking amazing. You get the photographic styles. You can do pretty amazing to say the least, on these devices. Next thing I want to discuss between these two is just the A15 CPU speed. Now, I've actually had days where I'm trying to like do things like really fast on these phones, and they keep up even when you're flying through stuff. So if you're like doing things quickly and you're just going like this, and like maybe you got a quick thing you got to go into the internet for, like this stuff is ridiculous. Like these A15s are the real deal. Like it's not just talk. If you actually have a time where you're doing stuff very fast on your phone, you're not going to have no issue on either. And both of them will provide that same experience. So it's actually quite amazing how fast these things are, faster than computers these days on your phone. So it's ridiculous. I just can't believe how mind-blowingly fast the A15 is. It's actually faster than some of the new S22s that just came out according to the benchmark scores. And I'll put those to the test when my S22s arrive here. But definitely, man, I gotta tell you, the speed is ridiculous. I would say one more thing about the camera. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but I'll say that the grip for the iPhone 13 Pro, it just feels sometimes like it's gonna fall out of my hand a little bit more. I don't know, there's just like less space, something like that. Like the iPhone 13 Pro Max, I just feel like it's so large and I could just, you know, grab it. And this is like a petty point, but at the same time, it's just some of these little things you notice in the user experience. iPhone 13 Pro Max just got more space to hold on to it to take a photo, and the framing is a little bit larger when actually taking those photos. So I found the experience a little more enjoyable if I'm taking my photography seriously. However, I do like the portability factor of the iPhone 13 Pro. It's also very enjoyable. It just feels like it's gonna fall out of my hand a little bit more. I don't know how to describe it. Maybe it's because I got a big hand. It might not be the same thing for you, but I just felt like that was gonna happen a little bit more. Just a little bit less space to grip on the edges. It's not a long or as wide of a phone as the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now here's an area where the 13 Pro Max is definitely going to take down the iPhone 13 Pro over my time using it, and it's the battery life for these phones. Now the iPhone 13 Pro Max for me was a 1.5 to 2 day phone, and that's under medium to heavy use. Now heavy use, I would say 1 full day with no problems, and that's going hardcore on it. Now if you go light on it, people are reporting they're getting 3 or 4 days if they're not using it too much. So that's incredible battery life there for the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now the 13 Pro, 1,000 less milliamp hours, so you're not going to expect quite as long as juice as this one, but surprisingly, this phone doesn't struggle at all to get through a day of heavy use. So I could go hard on the iPhone 13 Pro and also make it a full day. Man, that Sierra Blue is just gorgeous. Nice color. But anyway, I'm going off topic there. The battery life for sure, man, it's just good on both of them. If you want to know actual times, I get around 8-9 hours of screen time on this phone. This one right here, 6 or 7-ish, but really good standby, which allows for it to last a very long time, and good video playback battery life as well on both of them. One thing I'm a little bit disappointed for both of these phones is the selfie cameras didn't really see any major improvements. I think Apple can improve this area. This is basically the same selfie cameras we've been seeing since the iPhone 11. So not super happy about that. They went to town on the rear, but I want to see some upgrades to the front because, you know, when you're doing some vlogs or making videos from the front, sometimes people don't want to look at the back camera because they can't see what they're doing. So I would appreciate to see a big upgrade to the front facing cameras going forward on both of them. The selfie quality can get better. Now, audio performance for both devices was quite loud. I found that the iPhone 13 Pro Max was a little bit louder, but not enough to sway you either way. It wasn't a big deal. One thing I also noticed, it's like something a lot of people don't talk about, but the Bluetooth connections on here are ridiculous. Like I've had headphones that I could connect even without having to unpair them and repair them. On other phones, I'll have to unpair the headphones just to connect, but the Bluetooth, for some reason on the 13 Pro and Pro Max, it's incredibly fast and accurate. So it's just something I noticed. It has really good Bluetooth performance compared to some other phones, even better than some older iPhones. Next up is the Face ID system. Now, I'm glad the 15.4 is going to make this worlds better with the usability with the mask. That's going to be amazing. But overall, it's still essentially the same experience. It's fast, it's secure, and it's very much an Apple convenience feature that you don't find on other platforms due to having the security of it. One of the major differences between these two is using them on the go, and the 13 Pro is the move. on the go for sure. Now, some people have large hands and this will feel like a 13 Pro to some other people, so it's kind of subjective here. But at the same time, I just find like the 13 Pro just feels like that pocketable beast that you want in your pocket if you're going to be, you know, out and about a lot. If you're not an office worker, if you don't work remotely at home, if you're on the move a lot and you still want that premium experience, I think the 13 Pro is definitely the better move. It's still going to last you your whole day. It feels super premium. It feels pocketable. It's a great experience for that user. If you're an office worker, if you're a remote worker, if you definitely do basically everything on your phone, then the 13 Pro Max is the move for you. I feel like if that's the type of user you are, if you're a super heavy user, you'll want to steer clear of the 13 Pro, you'll want to go straight to the Max. In conclusion, which one has been better? If that's what you're waiting for, honestly, neither has been better than the other. The 13 Pro Max is objectively better with the battery. It's a fact that it has a larger battery and, you know, overall the screen is larger, so but it's subjective whether you feel like a larger screen is better. There's no really better one here is what I've actually come to the conclusion. I find myself using the 13 Pro Max more because I'm on my phone a lot, so battery life, but that doesn't make it better just because I personally think, you know, I'm on my phone more than some other people out there. But at the same time, 13 Pro, when I've been using the 13 Pro, I'm enjoying its portability and how I'm not really sacrificing almost anything over the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Even with its beautiful design, it still feels quite as nice. Actually, like the Sierra Blue more than the graphite, to be honest, with the color as well. Honestly, if I could personally only buy one of these phones, it would be the 13 Pro Max for me. But definitely, I don't think you'd be going wrong with getting a 13 Pro. A few months later, they've both been essentially the same experience, just one is larger with better battery life, one is smaller, more portable, giving you that premium on-the-go experience. So that's it for me here between the 13 Pro and the iPhone 13 Pro Max a few months later. Both still recommended. Yes, the 14 is not too far away, but if you're not willing to wait that long, like 7 more months for a brand new iPhone with maybe an upgraded no-notch experience, maybe a pill or some kind of cutout, then maybe these are the time to get one of these two. Let me know your thoughts on them down below in the comment section. If you found it helpful, entertaining, and informing, click the like button for me. Subscribe for more. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.